Human brains thrives on storytelling. We are programmed to listen to stories. We are programmed to tell stories. We are programmed to experience the stories. And like humans, every company needs a story to tell the world they represent, that represent the essence of their brand to the world. A brand story is absolutely essential to selling your product, your services. So today in this session, let's take a look at how we can help you in that journey. I am Sushant Dubey. I head the digital services for Sify Technologies in India. And with me, I have eminent set of panelists with me. I have Ravi Maguluri, who is based in US. He's the CTO for Sify Technologies Limited. And I have Lamba. He's the Vice President, Strategic Customers and Alliance from Tenovos. Together, Sify Tenovos offers the data-first modern technology platform that helps marketers to unlock the value of the content which they own. So why I'm saying this? Because marketers today are sitting on a gold mine of untapped revenue through the content that they own. So today we will talk about how the technology can help you, the marketer, to unlock that value. Let's talk about the latest technologies to help marketers unlock the true value. And hey, Ravi, the emergence and usage of new technologies are reshaping the way marketing is done. Can you throw some light on what is technology-led marketing?
So, Sushant, the idea is not technology as a means and end of itself, but let's look at what technology is actually doing. So you today have a plethora of technologies. You have mobile phones, you have social media channels, and you have, content is everywhere. So the way in which people can produce and consume content is changing. And so we should look at technology in that context. And the need for people to have immersive understanding, immersive experience of a product that they're researching on or a service that they want to subscribe. So the marketers have taken advantage of the voracious consumption of content by people of all ages and exposure to technologies. And it suddenly has become very critical that every marketer has to create content and manage the content as if it's a Hollywood production, because people will not be motivated to look at things which are not looking exciting. And this is where we need to understand by way of technology, A, how to produce good content, and B, to look at what is the outcome of such a content that has been produced and has been pushed out in various of these channels. That's how I look at it.
Excellent. Just what are your thoughts around this?
Yeah, I would say that, we're seeing that technologies are, whether it's marketing or otherwise, they're often siloed, right? They've been very monolithic platforms that have existed for years and years, and they've been sitting in their own little silos or departments or corners, if you will. That doesn't work in the modern enterprise of today, right? Focus right now nowadays is what we call a connected enterprise, right? And that's driven by data. Now, enterprises have been collecting data for years, right? They've got data warehouses. They've been storing it, not knowing what really to do with it, right? They're sitting on a gold mine of information that they can leverage to drive more revenue, right? So traditionally, when you talk about marketing, you've got many different dozens, often hundreds of marketing tools that are driven by different teams, different individuals. They're sitting in corners, all servicing some level of marketing. They're not connected. Well, now you might say that, hey, AI and ML, right? That magic is going to solve our problem. But what we got to understand is that it's no magic, right? AI and ML still needs to be trained. And for training, you need data. Now, enterprises have that data, as I said, they just don't know how to connect the two to leverage that. And that's where consortiums like the Mock Alliance come in that are driving a fully integrated approach for enterprise technology so that you've got all of the systems, even though they may be different individual purpose-built systems, but they all need to be connected and be sharing that data, that information exchange, so that you can make sense of that. And we only make sense, or we only achieve that level of insights if we're able to think marketing as a holistic approach, right? Think of technology and marketing as a fully connected approach. And we're starting to see that's starting to happen.
Okay.
So see, the idea is if you look at business applications, which were using uh, some of these data-driven techniques, where we were talking about, yeah, at the very beginning, we have reports, and then that became data warehousing. And then with the advent of cloud, now you're talking about data lakes, which essentially in simple terms, where you are throwing all that you have into some place, figuring to worry about how to capitalize on that, how to take advantage of that at a later date. So now we are on the topic of marketers and the data that their exercises generate. So what do we do as marketers? So we create the content, we work with people who see that inherently the content, the pictures, videos, and all are very bulky and time consuming. And if you have to analyze and review the content that is getting generated, you need a very different set of abilities to to be able to do that quickly. So that is one part. That is the content production part. Now, once the content is produced, then you will actually publish it into a variety of channels. Now, all of them have their own way of reporting how the content is what we can call performing, as in how people are receiving the content. So now suddenly it starts looking like an enterprise situation where you have a variety of structured data sources. So now how do we render uh, the outcome of a social media channel, the outcome of traditionally we were talking about, for example, Nielsen ratings for television. Likewise, print media has a way of measuring the circulation and somehow making an assumption about how much people would have read. So it is only becoming very complicated with omni-channel and plethora of channels. So now we are searching for ways of how to correlate how to aggregate all of this data, how to make sense of it, how to correlate, and how we can use the techniques of data processing such as data lakes and all. How do I so these are the questions marketers are asking, and these are the things that we are getting inspired by whatever the AI and data-driven technologies are talking about. Marketers are saying, how can I get the same level of intelligence? How can I get the same level of insights?
Yes.
So just what technology here we are talking about? In simple terms, if I have to understand, what is the solution which we are talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple technologies, right? But content becomes your king, right? Content becomes the centralized driver for marketers, right? It's all about promoting, and it's, whether it's marketing or advertising, everything is driven by content, right? And the first thing the first piece of the puzzle, or as I like to call it, get the plumbing of the house. If you're building a new house, you need to put the right plumbing in place. And that is getting control of all of your content. Because right now, content is sitting all over the silos and drives, agencies. Enterprises don't have full control of that content. So let's get that content under control. So you need a hub, a content hub. And that is typically done through a DAM, right? A digital asset management system. And a DAM, when you look at a modern DAM, a data first DAM, being the center of marketing, right? Your MarTech stack, it can then take that content and apply those insights and deliver or get to your customers or consumer in more engaging way and provide those the insights back, right? So it's like telling stories that matter. How can we get marketers? How can we enable marketers to tell those compelling stories, knowing what content works in different parts of the region or with different types of audience? Those level of insights will only come when you have something like a DAM that is the centralized part of your technology. And then, of course, connected, as Ravi said, right? You've got the data lakes, you've got lots and lots of report. Traditionally, it's we've got the data, we can provide analytics as we've all been seeing, but it's more of a reporting. It's not true AI or ML or they're not intelligent insights. We haven't seen systems that will say, hey, you know what? Based on what I know about this one piece of content, we think that you should use it in this channel, that channel, and that channel. And this is where technologies like the modern DAM and other come together to deliver that kind of insights.
So if I have to then summarize, then I would say that we are talking about a modern DAM, which would help to have a content hub, which would help brands or companies to have all the content or their digital assets. And when we say digital assets, we mean images, videos, pictures at one central location. And then we can also find through intuitive search capabilities, and then further insights about each of those assets can be achieved through the AIML engine, which Jas and Ravi we were talking about, right? Eventually, that would help the brands to narrate the compelling stories to their end customers, to the audience.
Yeah, you see, let me share some more information, right, around the DAM landscape. You hit the nail on its head when we talk about you mentioned getting content and then delivering it and then knowing what content works. If you look at the history of DAM, DAM 1.0, which was 25 years ago, it was simply designed as a repository, right? Having a single source of the truth where you can get all of your content in one place. Think of a very advanced folder system, a file system, right? You've got asset, you've got content. And when you say assets, it doesn't have to be just video and images and all that. Any marketing asset could be a document, right? Could be a script, could be anything.
Excellent.
Right?
Excellent.
So
Okay.
DAM 1.0, that time, let's just get content in one place. So now we don't have to go to different places and locate it. We can look at it and download it. DAM 2.0 allowed for some level of connectivity. And when I say that, you were now taking that content and integrating it, still legacy type integration, monolithic platforms, but now you can take that data and put it into different workflows. For example, receiving content from an upstream system or an agency or an individual, and then managing it, right, DAM 1.0, and then using the 2.0 technologies to publish or deliver it. Typically a one-way. Content comes in, sits, and goes out. Then we have DAM 3.0, and many would say that we are in the 3.0 world right now. I say we're closer to 4, if not already at 4. So what does 3.0 does, right? What does DAM 3.0 bring to the table? That's when the whole omni-channel, right? The buzz around omni-channel, my content everywhere. So now we're talking not only connecting multiple systems, whether it be creative, publishing, upstream, downstream, but they have the ability to take that piece of asset, the content, the campaign, and deliver it in the right size, at the right channel, at the right time, right? And now we're also hoping, and some of them were able to achieve that we get some information from that delivered channel, that published channel, back in as a two-way integration, right? But getting that data back is no different than collecting data that we've been traditionally doing in, data lakes and all that. What we do with that data is what matters, and this is where DAM 4.0 comes in, right? It's no longer about managing your content. Every DAM should be able to do that. It's no longer about receiving content from upstream and downstream channels. Not a problem. Having other workflows, creative workflows, reviews and approvals, sure, not a problem. The ability to now seamlessly connect with other parts of the enterprise. I mean, if you look at retail CPG, they've got PLM systems, they've got PIM systems, they've got e-commerce systems, right? They all need those same assets. When we go to soandso.com, we need those images, multiple angles, videos. I mean, that's how the world works. So how do we deliver that seamlessly? I call it automatically to all those channels, right? And ensure that if I'm delivering it to an e-commerce, right, I got to make sure that that channel has the right number and the right size and the right level of information. Well, guess what? If DAM is going to deliver that, it's got to deliver not only the asset, it can also deliver the marketing copy, the product information. Wait a minute, that doesn't live in DAM. That lives in PIM system, product information. That lives in our MRM for marketing copy. So now DAM needs to talk to them and say, hey, I'm giving you this asset for this SKU. Give me the marketing copy. Hey, Mr. PIM, here's the SKU. Give me the product information. And now DAM says, I've got the product information. I've got the marketing information. I've got the master assets that I need to create in 6 different sizes. Now I can take this package and publish it, whether it's to your commerce system, whether it's to your PIM system, right? That's the first level of, I call it 3.0 advanced or 4.0. Now, where the real 4.0 comes in is when we start to realize the performance of those content. So if I've delivered that one piece of asset to an e-commerce site, how do we know that people actually liked it? How do we know that that asset or that angle was able to convert or engage with my customer? Or maybe it didn't. How do I know that it didn't so I can change that? So you've got now N number of channels. You've got commerce, you've got social, they all have insights, right? They're all generating in silos what everybody's doing because every platform says, hey, we got reporting. Well, how about getting that reporting, those insights back into your DAM seamlessly, right? Taking all of that data from 20 different channels for just that one piece of content. Maybe it's a product image. And looking at it, that product image did amazing in social, but not so much in e-commerce, but did amazing on our CM. Now taking that holistically, normalizing and presenting it in a visual, actionable insight that says, hey, you know what? This is the real value or return on your asset, right? Typically in the technology world, we buy a system and we say the ROI for a system is X based on productivity gains and all that stuff. Well, if you look at something like a DAM, which is the central hub, it has millions of pieces of content. Not every one of them are as valuable to you, the marketer, the brand, as the others. How do we know which ones are value, which ones are worth more to us, right? And that's where when you get the DAM 4.0, when you've got all those pieces, but when you connect them with performance and measurement back against that single piece of content, that's where the value comes in. And this is what can help marketers drive value, tap into revenue that they didn't know, or make more engaging stories or more effective campaigns.
Excellent. So that's a very interesting terminology you use, that is return on asset, and how the marketers can actually untap the value of the content which they already have, the gold mine of content. So Ravi, in that perspective, what is your view when just talked about integration with multiple systems at the back end, and then also having the capability to distribute the content across different channels? How easily it is done? I mean, from implementation perspective, from deployment perspective, what do we say to the customers? I mean, how easy it is for the companies, for the brands to deploy it across the organization?
See, let me start with one observation. We've been using the words content and asset in the flow.
Yeah.
So first I want to establish that content does not become an asset by itself. So when does a content become an asset? So
Yep.
what exactly? So let's look at content, right? For example, you have images and you have videos and you have maybe tomorrow AR and augmented reality experiences and whatnot. So now the question is, if we go back to the life cycle of the content, right? From the time you produce it to the time you want to distribute it, which is where you are asking me the question, how easy it is to distribute. Let's start with the content production. Now, the content production is a lengthy time consuming process where it's all about an emotional response to the content, right? It's not, there's no metric by which you can say the content passes the test. You cannot automate the acceptability of a content, right? So now with that kind of a complication, then the question is, do I already have a content that worked before? How do I know whether I should produce the content again or should I use something that I may already have? So this is where you will talk about applying the modern digital technologies and cloud technologies and whatnot to prepare a proper catalog of your content. So what do I mean by catalog? So what if you can say, hey, I want to know all the content on this product or service of mine where we promoted it for a festival, let's say Diwali. So what, and then some other time you may say, hey, let me talk about how to push this product and service when the sales are sluggish, because you have to cater to all kinds of market impulses, right? So when everybody is in the mood to spend like Diwali, the messaging will be in one way. And when you're talking about a non-seasonal time where you still want to somehow create and convert the impulse of an audience to buy products, the messaging has to be a little different. So this is all about emotion, sentiment, and a variety of factors. So the marketers are the best judge of what those ought to be. But how do you find out a suitable content that may be already there for the situation under consideration? So that is where we need to rely on content cataloging, indexing, and providing an ability to search. Because if I have to browse the content manually, even if you take a video of 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and if I have to look at 10 of them, then it's a lot of time. I would rather be able to find content intelligently by way of cataloged and indexed content. And if it throws up candidates for me, that will be effectively spending my time. So that is the production part. Now the question is, where is this content, right? So this content could be in the absence of a systematic, structured, and a modern generation for DAM that we've been talking about. It will be all over the place. It will be in cloud drives. It will be in your computers and on your mobile phones and whatnot. So the idea is how can I render the distribution of content for the purpose of review, for the purpose of typical workflow? How do I give how do I make it easy for the people to look at the correct version? So I often come across this thing, you will put the file revised by ABC, date and timestamp, and then you will quickly see it at 20 versions of it. And no,
Yeah.
I was talking about version 19.2. So then
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody will add a delta number or decimal number, somebody will bump the whole number. So how can you eliminate the problem of referencing the content? First of all, finding the right content, referencing the content, working on the changes that need to be made on the same, whatever is my intent. I want to make sure that everybody is on the same content that I'm talking about. Now you're talking about content becoming an asset, because this is what will help you accomplish your objective of pushing it onto your audience. So that is a content production stage. So we're talking about technology. That was your question. So no matter whether I use my phone, no matter whether I use my cloud, well, no matter whether I use my email, no matter whether I use whatever, I should be able to easily look and consume that same content that we are all talking about. So technology is a very important element in there. So nowadays you have content delivery systems and all that. So instead of physically transporting the asset every time, instead of physically bumping it up into numbers and versions, we should be able to operate on a broader context, which is common for all of these people, so that they don't waste time. They actually work on the same asset that we're talking about. Now suddenly the content has become an asset. Now, next step. So now I'm ready with my product. Sorry, my digital asset, right? Now I need to publish it. Now there are different tools and technology. Each one of them have their own standards. So suppose I put it in Instagram, they want it in a certain resolution, certain size. The same thing if I want to put it in Facebook, they want it differently. The same thing I want to put it in television, it has to be different. The same thing I have to publish into a book or a print, it has to be different. So we generally call this, let's say, how do I actualize? How do I activate my content? How do I make it available to the intended audience? Now, this is again where technology comes and plays a larger role. So instead of people sitting and making all of those transitions and renditions manually, what if I can say, hey, I have these are the standards of the target medium, and these are the standards which I will choose in my organization, because it is not uncommon to look at technology teams of, let's say, 50 plus and sometimes 200 kind of people working on making all of this content published and created and published. Now, how do you ensure consistency? How do you make sure everybody will do the same thing? That somebody when you are the smartest frame of mind, somebody will say, this is how we ought to do things. Now, how do you make sure that standard, that compliance to those standards is accomplished? Now, if you were to go and talk about everybody coming back and verifying what has been produced, you will be analyzing to the paralysis mode forever. Now, the problem with marketing and content is time is of essence, like in any business activity. But here we are talking about responding to market dynamics as quickly as possible. So we're talking about a sporting event. We're talking about commenting on the sporting event, somehow pushing the relevance of our product and service to that, like for example, World Cup for soccer. So somebody wins, so everybody is talking about Lionel Messi. So how can I relate my product to Lionel Messi? Now it cannot wait for 1 week. It has to be done in that moment. So speed is of essence. So technology plays a very critical role in enabling people to achieve the consistency, to achieve the standards and requirements of the publishing medium, all of those things in a very effective fashion.
Wow, that's an elaborative answer to a one-line question from my side. That shows the depth you guys have on the subject line. But to make it very simple for some of the audience who may have less time, you mentioned a few very critical points. You said that how and how we make a content into an asset, right? That is a very important thing. And how we meta tag and how do we do that process? Obviously, DAM helps with that. Then you mentioned a very important point in that how technology helps to integrate this DAM system along with various organization system, whether it is PIM for that matter, like just said, or it is the e-commerce application at the front end, or these are the social channels at the front end, or these are the ERP or other billing systems at the back end if the brand is trying to monetize the content or or using it for different purposes. So the technology helps it. And then the very critical point you said is about user experience, that it has to be synonymous across the user interfaces which the end user accesses it, whether it is mobile, whether it is web, or at whatever places. And then most importantly, technology will help the companies to have this system scalable. The technology would help the brands and the companies to accelerate the whole process of marketing to utilize the moment. And that's where we are talking about untapping the value with the content they have, and also accelerating the way they can create and publish the content, right? That's what I have understood, at least from both of you, what you said in last few minutes. Yes.
Yeah, Sushant, that's perfect, spot on. But I would also say, right, looking at a market like India, right, where technology or access to internet and computers or mobiles, yes, it's accessible, but there's also a part of the population where brands want to sell to that may not have access. So they're still relying on the traditional SMS or WhatsApp. That itself is a huge channel for the Asian or the Indian markets, right? So we talked about the consistency in having that omni-channel, but in North America and other parts of the world, we're always assuming that everybody's got the latest phone, they have access to the internet, right? So I wouldn't say it's easier, but there are automated processes that are in place to hit those channels. The challenge becomes, how do you engage with the population that still has that SMS, that has the WhatsApp, right?
Yeah.
Which I assume in
Very
India,
interesting.
a lot
Yeah.
of folks, a lot of brands are trying to tap into. And this is where a modern system, like a DAM system, that central hub, yes, we service and we can service and connect to all the systems, but also look at ways, how do we get to the population that has been underserved, that has not been tapped into? So that becomes a very important point for the Indian brands to consider.
Excellent point. Because yes, rural marketing and tapping the rural population now is one of the priorities for many of the industries and many of the companies. And if the solution can help with that, definitely it would solve a larger challenge for the marketing. What else do you believe are the key challenges which a marketer faces? While we have talked about it in last few minutes, but few pointers where the solution would, exactly help them, and what are those challenges?
So I will take the challenge of the diversity. So you guys started talking about India now, not only technology diversity, but the demographic diversity. See, elsewhere we talk about Gen Z, X, Y, whatever it is, which is essentially age related. But the moment you
Yeah.
bring to India, it's about 20 different languages and hundreds of dialects and the idiom, right? So while everybody is trying to with the proliferation of television channels, no matter which part of the country you are, everybody has access to their own language of choice and all that. But the problem is not from a consumption perspective, but from a production perspective. As a marketer, how do I take care of the plethora of languages and idioms? And if I were talking about the speed of execution, how do I then also factor in the speed at which I have to deliver so many different languages, so many different idioms? While we may not be able to make sure that the idiom may be captured perfectly, at least we can start with a copy that is translated correctly. So it is see At least for me, every time I have been asked to come up with a brilliant statement of how it can help communicate the message, it takes a long time for me. I mean, we have all of these, what do you call creative blocks and whatnot. So now, if you have a starter copy, I personally, at least for me, editing is always easier and I can get things faster compared to sitting and creating something new. So now,
Yes.
so somebody has created this wonderful copy that works in one language, let's say Hindi or English. Now the question is, starting that into other languages will always be easier. So if we have a service with which I can automatically create an equivalent copy, it may work maybe 60% of the time, maybe more, but at least it helps me publish the message very quickly. That is as far as the creation of the content is concerned. Then let's talk about production of the content. So now there's no point in sitting in Delhi and then producing content for Kerala. So now if you have a central system, after this process that we just described about how to create the content, now you store the content and make it available in the central hub. So the Kerala office or the Tamil Nadu office or the Punjab office can go and create the produce the content which is relevant for them locally, but with no worry about is it consistent, is it compliant, is it what my brand managers want it to be. So that's the facility that you should have by way of technology, wherein you are delegating the authority, at the same time you're not losing set of governance.
Excellent point. Yep. Yeah, just what is your view?
See, it's interesting, Ravi. You took the challenge on the content creation approach. Let me. That's the creating the content, right? Let me talk about uh, the major shift that we're seeing, right? The challenges that are faced by marketers is every year the budgets are going down and the work is increasing, right? So I always say, do more with less money is what they're being asked every day. And there's been a huge shift in marketing over the last couple of years because up until now, global brands were able to either using internal teams or external agencies tap into um, paid marketing, right? Paid advertising, relying on Facebooks and Googles and many other advertising systems and networks. But there's been a loss of a media signal over the last 6 to 8 months, and it's only going to get worse. And what I mean by that is there's been major shifts in privacy and the regulation landscape, right? Predominantly led by Google and Apple, right? Two main factors have kind of affected that. The first one is the deprecation of the cookies, right? We know that typically when you go to a website, they put a little piece of code called a cookie, right? Not the
Yep.
Oreo cookies or the Britannia cookies, but they put a little bit of code which essentially tracks you, the user, from that point on all around the internet, right? So when they come in, they know, you looked at something on Amazon, next time you hop onto Facebook, they show you the ads for that Amazon product and so forth, right? So through cookies, right? That's one thing. The which are being deprecated now, right? The second is ad ID tracking. So not only cookies, but every device also has an ad ID that once again, they can track you and build a profile, essentially a customer profile of where you've been. And that's been predominantly the two big pillars on how paid advertising has been done, right? So now if you notice, Apple starting and now Google following, when we install the app, it says, hey, tell this app not to track me. And guess what? Most of the consumers hit no, which means you now have that loss, that breaking of that media signal that they once had. And at this point, there aren't any one-to-one solutions to replace this, right? So that's a huge challenge now. Before, brands were enjoying the analytics, the third-party data from Google Analytics and others coming together, the Facebooks of the world. Well, that's not going to be as effective anymore. And on top of that, right, attention spans are becoming shorter and shorter, right? We're going swiping in less than a second, right? So the whole the whole content terminology, going back to the old era where content is important, where first party data matters, is coming back, right? That's something marketing and marketers have to adopt to. And this is where we keep on talking about it, but this is where that modern data first DAM comes in, right? It becomes a cornerstone, cornerstone, or the center of your enterprise that can allow you to increase brand awareness, right? But you can only increase your brand awareness and engagement when you have the data to back that up. How are you going to know which content is the right one? And that's where this whole interconnected enterprise with DAM in the center comes in, telling you what content works and what doesn't. So I think companies, if they haven't, they need to pause and take a deep look at their MarTech strategy, right? And if it is, and if they aren't thinking, they got to ensure that something like a modern data first DAM platform or a content hub is in the middle of it. Because like I said, the house technology, right? The building a house, you say, well, we don't need it. We can do it later. Sure. If you've got a nice, beautiful house and you're going to go back and rip the plumbing and the floors out, it's going to cost you more money. It may not be perfect, right? So if you're thinking about and building that strategy, right, start thinking about putting that DAM right in the middle and have DAM service all the different channels for now and for the future.
Very important point. So basically, we are saying that the challenge which marketing are facing, and that's a very, very important point you said, to do more with less. Every year, there is a challenge of doing more with less, right? And then Ravi mentioned a very important point, and that is applicable to India or any other market where the marketers would like to publish the content in the local languages, in the geographical basis, the geographical preferences. They may like to moderate the content. They may like to give the access to the geographical teams, local teams, to moderate the content basis their priorities. And with the new data privacy rules coming across, and spy cookies or cookies, whatever we talked about, are something which may not be as applicable as they are today. So the trends and the analytics from the large engines like Google or Facebook may not be like what they are today. And that's where a solution like DAM, digital asset management, can play a very, very critical role. And the early you adopt that for the organization, the early you may be able to utilize it rather than at a later scale. And yes, the most important point, that with DAM, you can capture every stage of the customer journey, right? From creating the brand awareness till the point of buying or purchasing the asset, purchasing the product which that company is creating for. So yeah, that's very interesting to know. So basically, now again, just coming to you, what is the solution here we are talking about from DAM perspective, and how that trend, how is the market, how it is different from what is available in the market today?
Yeah, I mean, you'll hear a lot of companies talk about DAM or content-based solutions, and I think we talked about the DAM 1.0 to DAM 4.0,
Yeah.
right? Earlier in our conversation, right? And I think that's important that the brands start thinking around the DAM 4.0. Now, you can't have a brand that says, okay, day one, I'm going to implement a DAM 4.0, right? It's a journey. It's a journey. So selecting that right platform, it matters, right? So you talk about the trends, the current trends in the space. Well, you know what? People are still talking about centralization and workflow. Let me quote Sir Martin Sorrell, who's a very respected ad executive in the world, right? He was I was reading about him. He was talking to a marketing journalist, a publication recently, and great guy. And he said brands will be more focused on activation and performance, right? And media measurement, and importantly, mixed media modeling. What media is working? What should we use? What combination, right? And he also mentioned that the attention spans and the lack of brand loyalty that consumers have, right? Because we've got the TikToks and all of that. Whatever we connect with in that moment of time is where our loyalty is, right? Consumer brand loyalty is leading consumers to jump ships more aggressively than ever, right? There's a lack of brand loyalty. So agility is going to be very important, and that's where technology is going to come in, right? The ability to not find, that perfect world, but starting with the right mix of solution. As I said, the best of breed, the mock alliance based, right? Getting these systems, whether you have something already, or you're going to get a DAM or a system like DAM to connect and start communicating and sharing that data. And especially in India, we keep on talking about it's a huge opportunity in India, right? And Sir Martin actually mentioned India in his conversation too, that he sees Asia, especially India, as a huge opportunity for brand and marketers and advertisers. So I think if you talk about trends, I think it all boils down to brands and marketers wanting to know what content should they invest in, what is working for them, what is engaging, and ultimately what is bringing more money, right? That's the trend that we see all around.
Okay, so yeah, Ravi, your thoughts around it? Yep.
Yeah, I have to add this following. So now, how many times have you heard about fantastic taglines like just do it?
Hamara Bajaj. Sorry, yeah, just do it. Nike. Yeah.
So I don't know to tell you it's Nike. Likewise, it just works.
Correct.
That is Apple. So now the question is, do we have a DAM that just works? Or do I have a DAM where I can just do it, whatever I do it? So what am I alluding to? I'm alluding to a user experience of the DAM itself, which is so lightweight or functional in nature, as opposed to clunky 25 menus. And then take our normal applications like Word and PowerPoint and all these things. They have tried variety of innovation. They put a ribbon, they took away the ribbon, they do all kinds of things, and you still have to go become a power user. You have to understand 25 options, shortcuts, and whatnot. What if I can give you a DAM experience, or what if you can get a DAM experience, which is like a simple button or rather box in which you type what you want to search. So if I have a modern DAM, I'm looking for intuitive experience where there is no need for a user manual. I do things the way I do. I know what I want to do, but the dashboard or the presentation of the application should be in such a way that it aligns naturally with what I do. I do not require any user manual. I do not require any training. So that is a characteristic of a modern DAM, where you focus on your functional aspects rather than fight with the technology, fight with the tool. How do I use it? What menu does what, and so on. That's an important aspect for me.
Yeah, from what you said, I remember a very famous line, which is obviously by somebody, but was very well played by Rajesh Khanna in a movie in where, which he said, it is very simple to be happy, but it is very difficult to be simple. So I think somewhere we are alluding to that point. And yes, absolutely, I totally agree with you. It's like when we go and buy something from a Flipkart or a Amazon, it's not that they train us. It's like you just go and start buying, and yes, it is done. So if we have a simple user interface, if we have something that easy, then it becomes very easy for the brands, for the organization because these are not technology geek. These are the geek guys. These are the guys who just go and want to work and do their function. So it is a great thing. So here, just that's where I think that's the key USP Tenavos as a platform offers. What else you would like to tell about Tenavos? If I have to ask you in short, if we have to say, what does Tenavos offer as a modern DAM platform?
Yes, Shant. See, when we went back to the drawing board and built Tenavos from ground up, we focused on three key areas, right? And Ravi mentioned the first one just now, which is user experience. We wanted to make sure, I mean, we're all consumers first. When we go on Flipkarts and Amazons and Facebooks, we don't go and take a course on how to use those, right? Very intuitive. So we wanted to make sure that, yes, it's an enterprise applications, but we wanted to consumerize it, right? Marketers don't need clunky and complex interfaces. So the user experience was our first one. The second one was around interoperability. And I think we covered that in conversation today. The DAM 4.0, the ability for DAM to seamlessly connect with other systems of today and future, right? And share that data, have that direct seamless connection to exchange data, right? That becomes very important. And now you might say, well, you know what? Integrations, systems have been doing integrations. Yeah, but this is new methodologies, right? Cloud-centric. How do you accelerate the time that you do these integrations, right? Traditionally, it takes you months and months to do these point-to-point integrations. Platforms like Tenavos can reduce that down to weeks, right? A handful of weeks to do that. So that becomes very important. The third one is, of course, is data, right? I keep on talking about it. We all talk about it, right? And that feeds directly into the MACH Alliance, the consortium that we talked about, right? So MACH Alliance, MACH stands for microservices, API first, cloud native, headless. So having a technology stack that allows you to bring on best of breed systems and connect them and get that data feed, that data signal. So now you can start to own that first party data, right? Which will then eventually translate into your business values, right? And how we do that is by simplifying and automating your complex processes that you may have the enterprise through the platform, whether it's connecting to, just our system, a DAM, or multiple other systems, right? And then bringing the whole notion of AI and ML into it by looking at the data and providing you those data-driven insights, content recommendations, right? Telling you what is working and what is not. And this is all through that fully integrated enterprise stack, right? Having that, ultimately having control of your content, giving you that clear ROI, that return on asset on every single piece of content that you own, right? So at a high level, I would say, is something like Tenavos important? Absolutely, right? I think having a DAM is a key value, but once you start to see the ROI, once you start to understand the ROI, right, you start to appreciate and see the values of systems and platforms like that.
Excellent point. I think we have covered a lot of distance today, and we have talked about many things, right from how the technology-led marketing is helping the new age marketers to grow their brand, to narrate the compelling stories to the customers. And while while we will talk about in summary on what we have discussed, let me thank both of you for putting up this time and answering the queries which we had. I hope our listeners would see the value in what we have discussed about. And that also, reminds me of a very famous quote which was written by William, Bernbach. He said, "You can say the right thing about a product and nobody will listen. You have got to say in such a way that people will feel it in their gut. Because if they don't feel it, nothing will happen. And that's where you see the largest of the brands narrated that story. They said whether it is Hamara Bajaj, whether it is Think Different from Apple, whether it is Just Do It, something which people feel in their gut. And like we have discussed, today we are living in this hyper digital world. The brands are moving, the buyers are moving to digital. Along with the buyers, the sellers are moving to the digital world. Along with the buyers and sellers, the competition is moving to the digital world. So the brands which are able to narrate a compelling story obviously are going to win the race. And in that process, if I have to recap, then obviously the brand need to tell a compelling story that resonates with their buyers. That means using the right content at the right time to the right audience. And in order to get those results, it is very important that they use a very advanced system. So we talked about digital asset management platform, and Tenavos is a data-driven platform that through its unique features will give insights what marketers need to know and what is the return on their assets, like just said. And yes, with these thoughts, I would like to close today's session. We would definitely get back with the next version of it with more queries, with more questions. Meanwhile, please feel free to write to us to let us know if you want to know more about DAM, about Tenavos, how Sify Tenavos would be able to help you in your digital journey. Thank you. This is Sushant Dubey signing off, along with Ravi and Jas.